Jayan liked the night shift for three main reasons. It was quiet, lonely, and full of stars. Every night, around 3 a.m., he would sit on the observation deck of Starbase Alara, watching the bright blue star Zion Alpha burn like a fireball in the sky. The windows automatically darkened because Zion's light was too strong for human eyes, but Jayan had gotten used to it. He adjusted the solar monitoring system with the kind of skill only someone with years of experience had. Even though it was late, his hands moved fast, typing numbers and making calculations. He spoke to himself, checking radiation levels. 3% variance. That's good, he muttered, and the computer beeped in reply. Jian stretched. 3 years on this space station, and he still found machines easier to talk to than people. Machines didn't ask why he had left Earth. They didn't dig into his past or wonder why a top solar engineer was hiding out in deep space. Machines didn't know about Sarah or what happened in that lab. His communicator buzzed. "You awake, Jayan?" came the familiar voice of Dr. Mara. "Yeah," he answered, keeping his voice calm. "I thought you'd want to know," Mara said. "The delegation from the coalition arrives tomorrow. Director wants all department heads at the welcome ceremony at 9 a.m. Jayan frowned. "I'm not a department head." "No, but you're the only one who understands the solar system tech well enough to explain it to them. Some of the aliens might have knowledge we've never seen before. We're hoping for a tech exchange. I'll prepare a file they can read later," Jayan replied. "Jayan?" Mara sighed. "You can't avoid people forever." "My shift ends at 6, Jayan cut in. "I'll send the data before that." He shut off the comm unit, and the silence returned. He looked out at the star again. Stars didn't betray you. Stars didn't lie. Stars just burned, steady and silent, unlike Sarah or the others who screamed in that experiment gone wrong. He shook the thoughts away and went back to work. The next day, the station turned upside down. The docking bay, usually plain and dull, was suddenly full of colorful flags, banners, and security staff. Scientists swapped their wrinkled lab coats for fresh uniforms. Aliens were arriving. Different shapes, sizes, colors, species. Jayan had never seen before. He stayed at the back, half hidden behind a pillar, trying to avoid attention. But of course, he couldn't escape completely. "There you are." Mara appeared with 2 glasses of something fizzy and blue. She handed him one. "What's this?" Jayan raised an eyebrow. "Liquid courage," she smiled. "Just don't stare too much. Some aliens take it as a challenge." Jayan took a cautious sip. It tasted like berries. "And fire. How many of them?" he asked. 12 species, 26 individuals," Mara said. "Most are scientists like us. A few diplomats. That group over there," she pointed at translucent-skinned beings. "They're from Meridian. Their water engineers are famous." Jayan scanned the room, quietly observing. Some insect-like aliens were near the food, while a trio of furry, 6-eyed beings stuck close together, nervous. One tall being with bark-textured skin stood alone, leafy strands waving above its head. "Where are the Alari?" Mara asked, scanning the crowd. Jayan turned toward her. "The what?" "Alari, from a dark planet called Nyx. They live without sunlight. They develop tech to survive in full darkness. Their representative asked for your solar energy data specifically." A cold feeling hit Jayan's stomach. I wasn't told about this. Maybe if you showed up to meetings sometimes, Mara began, but a loud alarm interrupted her. Red alert, solar flare detected, radiation shields activating, all personnel. Clear observation areas, panic, spread in a controlled, trained kind of way, as guests were ushered toward safety. Jayan didn't hesitate. He ran through the chaos toward the monitoring terminal. What's going on? He asked a technician. Massive solar flare, she replied quickly. It broke from Zion Alpha 20 minutes ago, heading right for us. Shields will hold. But the observation deck, Jayan cut in. Anyone up there? The tech checked. One life sign, non-human, observation. Pod C. Jayan didn't wait. He ran. Jayan sprinted through the cold, dim corridors of the station, ignoring the sounds of distant alarms and security chatter. Observation. Pod C. His boots echoed against the metal floor as he pushed his way to the lift. The emergency lights bathed everything in a dull red glow, making everything feel like it was already too late. The elevator felt agonizingly slow. When the doors opened, the corridor ahead flickered with radiation warning signals. The lights outside Pod C glowed a dangerous orange, not instantly lethal but deadly with exposure. Jayan reached the pod and punched in the emergency override code. Nothing. He tried again, teeth gritted. Still nothing. System override, he barked, leaning in. Authorization reigns. Alpha 37. A beep. The door slid open with a hiss, and a wave of heat hit him in the face like opening an oven. Zion Alpha's flare had penetrated before the shutters had closed, flooding the pod with high-level radiation. The air inside shimmered faintly, and the floor was glowing under residual energy. He stepped inside the radiation detector, on his wrist chirping warnings. Damn it! Then he heard it. A soft moan, barely a whisper. He turned and saw her. A figure lay crumpled under the console in the far corner. Humanoid, definitely female, but alien. Her skin was deep violet, like twilight sky, but large. Parts had gone grey, cracked, flaking like ash. Where the radiation hit hardest, her body looked burned from the inside out. Silver veins shimmered beneath broken skin, flickering like they were fading. Medical emergency, Jayan called into his communicator. Pod C! Non-human subject, heavy radiation burns. We need help now. The figure stirred. Her eyes flew open, glowing silver like moonlight. She tried to speak, but only managed a cracked breath as more of her skin peeled away. Jayan stared. It hit him then. This was the Alari delegate, the one from the dark planet. She wasn't just any alien. She was the one who had asked for him. He dropped to his knees beside her and gently pulled her into a sitting position. Her body was blazing hot, like it was burning from the inside out. She winced when his hands touched her skin. I'm sorry, he whispered. Help is coming. I'm getting you out of here. But just as he adjusted his grip, something happened. Where his palm touched the cracked skin of her arm, the damage began to reverse. Right in front of him, the flaking stopped. The skin sealed itself. The color returned from gray to deep violet. The woman's eyes widened. She saw it too. That's impossible, she whispered, voice hoarse but clear now. Her accent was strange, but her words perfect. Jayan looked at his hand, then at the patch of healed skin. I didn't do anything, he said, confused. Yes, you did. Her voice grew stronger. She reached for his hand and placed it over another damaged area on her forearm. It healed again. fast. The pod door hissed open as the medical team arrived, led by Dr. Mara herself. They stopped short, taking in the glowing pod, the injured alien, and Jayan kneeling beside her, his hand on her arm. "What happened?" Mara asked, already pulling out her scanner. "Solar flare hit," Jayan explained quickly. "She was exposed, but when I touch her, something happens. It's healing her." Mara's scanner beeped wildly as she passed it over both of them. She frowned, confused by what she saw. "That's not possible." The alien woman, despite her condition, held herself with poise. "I am Silenta," she said, voice now calm and formal. "You may call me Saya. And you," she looked at Jayan, "have just saved my life in a way that defies everything I understand about our biology." The scanner beeped again, louder this time. "We need to move her now," Mara said, urgency in her voice. "The radiation damage is deep." Jayan moved to lift her again, but Saya grabbed his wrist. "Don't let go," she said. "Whatever your touch is doing, it stops when you break contact." Jayan didn't argue. He lifted her carefully and carried her toward the medical bay, ignoring the questions, the stares, the confusion around him. Whatever was happening wasn't normal, but it was real. And deep down, he had a feeling this was only the beginning. The medical bay was a whirlwind of flashing lights, moving hands, and hushed voices, trying not to panic in front of a miracle. Jayan walked in, carrying Saya, like she was made of fire and glass. Her body was glowing, still, damaged, but something was different now. Whatever was happening between them was beyond science. And yet, here they were, surrounded by scanners and scientists, trying to explain it. "Set her down," Dr. Whitmore said, directing them to a bed. She was the lead xenobiologist on the station, calm, focused, and way too excited for someone watching an alien fall apart. "Keep your hand on her," she added quickly to Jayan. "If what you say is true, we need to measure this." Jayan gently placed Saya on the bed, never letting go of her arm. Her violet skin was still damaged in places, cracked and grey, but the moment his hand touched another part of her, healing started again. The grey receded, the cracks sealed. Murmurs filled the room. Saya stayed still, her expression calm. Almost too calm for someone whose skin was melting minutes ago. "How exactly did you discover this effect?" Dr. Whitmore asked, carefully taking a skin sample just past where Jayan's fingers rested. "I didn't discover anything," Jayan said. "She was dying. I just touched her." Saya glanced sideways at him, her silver eyes warm with something close to amusement. "He cradled me quite heroically." Jayan coughed awkwardly and focused on the monitors. Her teasing, was it teasing? Made his ears go warm. Her cells are repairing themselves at nearly 50 times the normal rate, Whitmore whispered, watching the screen in disbelief. "But only where Mr. Jayan Rains is in contact." Director Holden Hargrove walked in then, stern face, thick eyebrows drawn tight, and the kind of presence that made everyone stand up straighter. "Report," he said flatly. Dr. Whitmore explained everything while Jayan kept his hand on Saya, his palm now resting gently against her forearm. He could still feel the strange energy moving between them, like his body was feeding hers something she desperately needed. Hargrove's eyes narrowed. "Is there something about your biology we should know, Rains?" Jayan didn't blink. "Not that I'm aware of, sir." Hargrove didn't believe him. That was clear. Run a full biometric scan of both subjects, he ordered. If this is some kind of cross-species energy exchange, we need to understand it. Coalition protocols demand full disclosure. A coalition medical officer, tall, skinny, with 4 arms and rotating eyes, stepped forward. Very fascinating. We must determine if this effect is unique to this pairing or if it can be replicated. Saya finally spoke up again, her voice sharper now. I am not a lab animal. Of course not, Whitmore said quickly, trying to soothe the tension. But we do need to test your theory, Saya interrupted. Let another human touch me. See what happens. Whitmore nodded. Good idea. Rodriguez. A young technician stepped forward, nervous as hell, and placed his hand on Saya's shoulder, right where her skin was still cracked. Nothing happened. Another person tried. Same result. 2 more after that. Still nothing. No change, Whitmore said finally. It seems the healing effect only works with Mr. Rains. Saya turned her eyes back to Jayan, studying him like he was a living riddle. How lucky you were the one to find me, she said softly. Let's not jump to conclusions. Hargrove cut in, but no one was listening to him. Saya sat up straighter. According to your scans, 40% of my skin is still damaged. Before I become your experiment, I'd prefer to complete my healing. And how do you suggest we do that? Hargrove asked, arms crossed. She looked at Jayan, her voice calm but direct. We need skin-to-skin contact. More of it. The larger the area, the faster the healing. Jayan blinked. Meaning? Meaning, she said without hesitation. Holding my arm isn't enough. We need full contact. Whitmore adjusted her glasses, clearly intrigued. The data supports that. I volunteer, Mr. Rains, Saya added, like Jayan didn't have a say. He will remain in contact, and will need privacy. Wait a minute, Hargrove started. I accept, Jayan said, before he could stop himself. Even he didn't fully understand why. Maybe it was the curiosity. Maybe it was something else entirely. But whatever it was, he wasn't walking away. Jayan followed Saya through the long corridor that led to the guest quarters, walking beside Dr. Keller, who was still adjusting the data bracelet she insisted he wear. You didn't have to say yes, you know, Keller said quietly, her voice low and half worried. You're not obligated to be her, what did she call it? Healing partner? Jayan didn't answer right away. He flexed his fingers, feeling a strange warmth still lingering in his skin from where he'd touched Saya. I'm curious, he finally said. None of this should be possible. Human and alien biology don't just sync like this. Something else is going on. Keller nodded slowly. Well, your medical scans are clean. Nothing abnormal. At least not from what we've been allowed to see. They reached Saya's quarters. The door slid open before they could knock. She was already waiting. She wore a simple silver shift that shimmered against her violet skin. The damaged patches were still visible. Cracked grey streaks along her shoulders and down one side of her face. Even in that condition, she carried herself like royalty. Dr. Keller, Saya said with a polite nod. I appreciate the escort, but I believe Mr. Rains and I can manage from here. Coalition protocol says a medical observer is required during first contact physical. Coalition protocol also says we're allowed full autonomy in medical treatment while on foreign stations. Saya interrupted smoothly. Section 12, paragraph 4. Keller opened her mouth, then sighed. Fine. The bracelet will monitor you both. If your vitals go off the charts, we're coming in. Understood. Saya said. She stepped aside to let Jayan in, and the door hissed shut behind him. The room was warm, the light dimmed low to a soft amber hue. It was clearly adjusted for her species. Jayan had to blink a few times for his eyes to adjust. "Your people prefer the dark," he said, trying to make conversation. "We evolved on the dark side of a tidally locked planet," Saya replied, settling gracefully onto a low cushion. "Bright light burns our skin. Even the station's regular lighting is too much after a while." Jayan stayed standing, unsure of where to go or what to do next. Saya gave him a faint, amused look. "You humans really are awkward about physical contact, aren't you? On my world, touch is normal. Healing, communication, everything." She patted the cushion beside her. "Come. Place your hands where the damage is worst." Jayan sat slowly, heart beating louder than he liked. He placed one hand gently on the side of her face, over the cracked grey skin. Immediately, that warm tingling began again, a pulse of energy spreading from his palm into her. Saya sighed, softly, eyes fluttering closed. Better already. Jayan watched in awe as the grey patches began to vanish right under his hand. The violet colour returned, smooth and whole. He could almost feel the cells changing beneath his fingers. "Does it hurt?" he asked. "Quite the opposite," Saya murmured, her eyes still closed. "It feels like warmth in places that were freezing for years." She took his other hand and placed it on her shoulder, where more damage remained. Her skin was hot to the touch, but not in a dangerous way. More like sunlight on metal. "How did you end up here, Jayan Rains?" she asked suddenly, voice soft but curious. "You were a top solar engineer on Earth. Why this station?" Jayan hesitated. No one had asked him that in a long time, and no one had deserved an honest answer either. "I wanted to be alone," he said at last. Saya opened her eyes. "No one wants solitude. They need it, but that's different." She guided his hand gently down her arm, where more skin was still damaged. "Your touch resonates at the cellular level," she said, studying his face. "It suggests compatibility that goes beyond simple biology." "You're very direct," Jayan said, trying to sound calm. It was hard with her this close. "Life is short," she replied. "Especially for us. Our genetic modifications let us live in the dark, but they came at a price." Jayan watched her expression shift, sadness flickering in her eyes. "We lose time," she said. "Our bodies age faster. We burn slower, but die quicker." Something in her words hit him hard. He knew all about paying a price for what you were made into. The bracelet on his wrist beeped softly, measuring her vitals and the healing progress. Saya glanced at it, annoyed. "This would be faster with more contact," she said, casually. "More?" Jayan asked, raising an eyebrow. She reached for his hands and placed them on either side of her waist, where the silver shift had already parted. "Much better." Jayan swallowed hard, focusing on his breath. Her skin under his palms felt like silk, heated by the sun. Was this still part of the test? Is this necessary? "Completely," she replied, her voice calm but with a hint of playfulness in her silver eyes. "Does it make you uncomfortable, Solar Engineer?" "I'm just not used to it," he admitted. "Then we're both experiencing something new," she whispered. She leaned in, close enough that he could feel her breath on his cheek. "Your kind fascinates me," she said. "So fragile. Yet somehow more powerful than most species in the galaxy. And you—" she studied him for a moment longer. "You're something different." Jayan sat frozen, hands still resting gently on Saya's waist, feeling the warmth of her skin pulsing under his fingertips. The lights in her quarters were dim, but her violet skin glowed softly in the low light, a glow that had grown stronger with every moment of contact. "You're something different," she had said. Jayan didn't respond right away. He couldn't. No one had looked at him like that in years. Not like a mistake, not like a failure, but like he mattered. He tried to laugh it off, tried to change the subject. "So, what's your story? Why come all this way just to learn about human solar tech?" Saya smiled faintly, shifting to face him more fully. Her fingers traced his forearm lightly, like she was following the energy trail under his skin. "I didn't come here just for the research," she said softly. "I came to find you." Jayan blinked. "Me?" She nodded. "I knew someone had survived the solar experiments. I didn't know who. Not until I saw you." Jayan's stomach tightened. "What do you know about that?" "Enough," she said gently. "Project Helios. Earth's attempt to turn humans into solar converters. A disaster, yes?" His heart sank. "How did you find out about that? The whole project was buried." Saya's expression darkened. "Your government secrets aren't as secure as they think. Desperate people find desperate ways to access what they need." Jayan stood up abruptly and moved away from her, pacing to the other side of the room. "You have no idea what happened. You weren't there." "I know 12 humans volunteered," she said calmly, not rising. 11 died. 1 lived. You." Jayan clenched his fists. The memories rushed back. The pain, the screaming, the unbearable heat beneath his skin. And Sarah, her face contorted in agony as her cells failed to contain the power flooding her body. "I didn't survive," he said bitterly. "Not really. I'm just—" "Something left over." Saya stood and walked toward him, her bare feet silent on the warm floor. She placed her hand gently over his heart. "Not left over," she whispered. "Transformed." He didn't push her hand away. Instead, he looked down at her, really looked at her. "Why does it matter to you?" "Because the sun is killing me," she answered, voice raw. "And I believe you're the only one who can stop it." Jayan stared at her. "You're healed." "Now I saw it. I helped you. You're fine." She shook her head slowly. "It's temporary. My cells, all Alari cells, are breaking down." "It's a slow death for most of us. Exposure to light, it speeds it up." "So why modify yourselves to live in darkness?" Jayan asked, confused. "We didn't have a choice," she replied. 300 years ago our ancestors altered our DNA to survive on Nyx, but over generations the adaptations became unstable. Now, even our twilight is becoming deadly." Jayan sat back down heavily. "And you think I'm your cure?" "I don't know if you are," she admitted. "But when you touched me, something changed. You didn't just stop the damage. You rewrote my cells, taught them how to handle the energy." He ran a hand through his hair. "So what? I'm a walking treatment plan?" Saya smiled, but it was soft and sad. "Not just that. You're the only known human who can survive solar conversion. Your cells, they don't just endure the radiation, they use it, share it,
Jayen's voice dropped to a whisper.
You want to test it again? We both do, she replied. Don't lie. He didn't. Because deep down, something about their contact wasn't just healing her. It was healing him too. The burn he'd lived with for 5 years, the constant fight to control the energy inside him, was quiet around her. Calm. I can't save your whole species, he said. No, she agreed. But if we understand how this works, if we figure out the connection between your cells and mine, we might be able to create something that can. Jayen took a deep breath. He felt like he was standing on the edge of something massive, something that could either fix everything or break it beyond repair. All right, he said finally. Where do we start? She stepped closer, took his hands, and placed them on her shoulders again. Right here. Before they could say more, the room's communicator chimed. Mr. Rains, came Hargrove's voice. Report to my office.
Immediately. It concerns your previous work history. Jayen froze. He looked at Saya. Go, she said. But come back. This isn't finished. He wasn't sure if she meant the healing or everything else. Either way, he nodded. I'll
be back. Jayen stepped into Director Hargrove's office with his heart pounding harder than he wanted to admit. The tall man stood with his back to the room, staring out the window at Zion Alpha, the massive star still blazing beyond the station. The window's polarization was at maximum after the recent flare, but even through the darkened glass, the star pulsed like a silent threat. You didn't tell us everything, Hargrove said without turning. Jayen stayed near the doorway. My qualifications were verified. Earth Central approved me for duty. They did, Hargrove said, turning now to face him, eyes sharp. But they left something out, like your participation in Project Helios. The words hit like a gut punch. Jayen's mouth went dry. No one was supposed to know. The whole project had been erased, classified, buried so deep it might as well
have never existed. After the accident, everything was shut down. He'd vanished into deep space just to escape it. How did you find out? He asked quietly. Hargrove didn't answer right away.
Instead, he picked up a data pad from his desk and tossed it onto the table between them. After what happened with the Alari delegate, Earth Central sent me this. Full file drop. Photos, medical records, DNA breakdown, everything. You're the
only one who survived, Rains. You know how valuable that makes you. Jayen didn't pick up the data pad. He didn't need to. He remembered every test, every scan, every scream. What do you want? He asked.
Neither were you, Hargrove said, almost gently. But now here we are. You and her. Whatever's going on between you is big. Possibly historic. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. We've never seen anything like this. Human-alien cellular fusion. You two might be the bridge to a whole new era of hybrid science. Jayen shook his head. You're talking like I'm a tool, like she's a thing. Hargrove's face hardened. I'm talking like a man who has Earth Central breathing down
his neck and a station full of foreign diplomats watching our every move. You want to protect her? Then cooperate. Do the tests. Keep her calm.
Because if you fight us, they'll take that as an excuse to bring the military in. Jayen stared at him. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You don't care about the science. You want control. I want results, Hargrove snapped. And right now, you and that alien woman are the most interesting biological weapons I've ever seen. Jayen felt something inside him crack, not break, but harden. Is that all? For now, Hargrove said, turning back to the window. Get some rest. The real testing starts tomorrow." Jayan left without another word. The hallway outside suddenly felt colder, tighter. He felt like he was back in the Helios labs, buried, watched, poked and prodded like a lab rat. He headed straight to Saya's quarters. She opened the door before he knocked, already sensing something was wrong. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said quietly. "I just came from Hargrove," he replied. Her silver eyes narrowed. "What did he say?" Jayan stepped inside. "He knows. About Helios? About me?" "Earth Central sent everything." Saya didn't react with surprise. She just placed a hand on his chest, over his heart.
"That's why I came here," she whispered.
"To find you. The last of your kind." "Why?" he whispered back. "What do you think I can do?" She took his hand and placed it over her heart. "Because my kind is dying. And I believe you're the only one who can save us." Ayan barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the lab. Not the one on Orion Prime, but the old one, on Earth. The Helios Project. The burning light. The screaming Sarah. By morning his head was pounding and his heart felt heavy, but he was already moving. He had to warn Saya. When he reached her quarters, she was already dressed in something different, more formal, ceremonial, the kind of thing an ambassador might wear when standing before a council. "You knew," he said, closing the door behind him. She nodded, calm. "I knew this was only a matter of time." "They're sending a specialist team," Jayan told her. "Earth Central wants to study us both. Full breakdowns, invasive testing, tissue harvesting." Saya's eyes darkened. "So it begins. They'll isolate us, lock us down, turn us into lab samples. I won't let them," she said. Jayan blinked. "What are you talking about?" She looked at him, serious now. "I've been preparing for this, since before I even arrived on Orion Prime." He stepped back a little. "Preparing? I have allies in the coalition," she explained. "People who believe as I do that the Alari won't survive another generation unless we find a new path. They helped me track Helios survivors. When I found out there was only one left, you, I knew I had to reach you." Jayan stared at her. "So this was all planned?" "Not all," she said gently. "I didn't plan to feel this." He hand reached for his. He didn't pull away. "I planned for diplomacy," she added. "But I planned for escape too, just in case." "How?" "There's a maintenance shuttle docked under a false registry," she said. "Its transponder is masked with coalition diplomatic codes, and the engine's been modified for stealth. It's waiting for us now." Jayan's breath caught. "You want to run?" "I want to live," she said. "And I want to give my people—"
"A chance to live too, but we can't do that here, not as test subjects." Jayan didn't answer right away. His mind raced. Leave Orion Prime, abandon the station, run from Earth Central. But the moment he thought of Saya, strapped to a table, her body torn apart for science, he didn't hesitate. "Let's go."
They made their move at 2:15 a.m., the exact moment Dr. Zhang had told Jayan the station's surveillance system would reboot. For 47 seconds, every monitoring device on their level would flicker off. Just enough time to vanish. Saya met him in the corridor wearing a stolen security uniform that was 2 sizes too big, but good enough. She moved like she belonged there. Security rotation is at level B now, she whispered. They won't notice us for 5 more minutes. Jayan fell into step beside her. You sure about this? Completely. They passed 2 corridors, slipped through a maintenance hatch, and into the underbelly of the station. Saya knew every shortcut, every blind spot, every back door. She'd been planning this for months. How'd you learn all this? Jayani asked as they climbed through a narrow access shaft. My people are often underestimated, she replied. We've survived by learning everything. They dropped onto level 7 near Docking Bay 3, an old platform rarely used now except for cargo transfers and minor repairs. A small maintenance shuttle sat there, engine humming quietly, ramp already open. Saya jogged up the ramp. Jayan followed. As the hatch sealed behind them, she locked the manual override and slid into the pilot seat like she'd flown it 100 times. You ever flown one of these? Jayan asked. I've flown worse. As the engines powered up, the shuttle
lifted with a low growl. Through the viewport, Orion Prime shrank behind them. Then, alert, the onboard comm panel chirped.
Unauthorized launch. Pursuit initiated. Let them try, Saya muttered. I've got one trick left. She shifted the shuttle, banking sharply until Zion Alpha filled the rear view. What are you doing? Jayan asked. Hiding in the radiation field. No one will follow us into that. As the shuttle dipped behind the blinding star, the enemy signals faded. Jayan stared at her in awe. You planned for every outcome, didn't you? I hoped I wouldn't need to, she replied, eyes still on the console. But I wasn't going to lose everything if I did. Jayan leaned back, adrenaline still coursing through him. Where are we going? To Freeport Theros, she answered. Neutral ground, a place where Earth Central can't touch us, and where we can finish what we started. Finish? She turned to him, her silver eyes glowing in the low light. We've only just begun understanding what's between us, what you are, what I've become. Together, we may be the key to rewriting both our futures. Jayan stared at her, and for the first time in years, felt something he hadn't in a long time. Hope? Freeport. Theros loomed ahead, a chaotic tangle of spinning rings, mismatched architecture, and flickering neon signs that floated along the outer hull. Unlike Orion Prime, it wasn't sleek or structured. It was raw, alive. Home to traders, exiles, mercenaries, and people who asked no questions as long as you paid in credit. Saya guided the shuttle with expertise, fingers gliding across the controls like she was playing a silent instrument. They won't find us here, she said. Not for a while. Jayan sat beside her, hood pulled low. And after that? Then we disappear deeper, she replied, a small smile playing at her lips. But not before we find answers. They docked at a private bay on the lower levels of Theros. Saya flashed coalition credentials to a grumpy-looking dockhand who didn't even look up from his data pad. Within minutes, they were slipping through the tight, dim corridors of the station, past market stalls that sold everything from biomod chips to black market star maps. Jayan had never seen so many species packed into one place. Tall creatures, with limbs like vines, short ones with glowing eyes, others that looked like sentient puddles of light.
None gave them a second glance. Saya led him to a hidden corridor, one with a symbol etched above it that Jayan didn't recognize, a swirl of stars around a dark crescent moon. Here, she said, placing her hand on a hidden scanner. The
wall slid open. Behind it was a safe house, quiet, warm, and clearly Alari designed. Curved walls, amber lighting, a large central room with a built-in energy control platform, and a viewport that offered a clear view of the star field beyond. Jayan stepped inside, already sensing the calm hum of the room. "It's beautiful," he said. "It's home, for now," Saya replied, stepping beside him. "And it's where we learn exactly what we are." The following days blurred into each other. Saya and Jayan spent hours connected, sometimes hand to hand, sometimes skin to skin, testing energy flows, observing how long her body could now tolerate light, mapping out the changes in both their cells. Each time they touched, something grew stronger. Her skin adapted faster. His energy grew more stable. The burn that had haunted him for 5 years began to fade. His body finally started to feel right. "This isn't just healing," Saya said one evening after a particularly intense session left them both breathless. "It's transformation. You're changing me, and I'm changing you." Jayan looked down at his arm, where faint, glowing patterns were starting to form. "Not
unlike the ones on her violet skin, we're synchronizing," he whispered.
"Merging. Balance," she said softly, placing his hand over her heart. "Your sun, my shadow. Together." Before he could reply, the warning chime from the outer security system echoed through the safe house. Jayan froze. "What is it?" he asked. Saya turned to the terminal and pulled up the feed. Ships, 3 Earth Central cruisers dropping from hyperspace just outside Theros. "They found us," she whispered. "How?" Jayan stepped beside her. "Doesn't matter," she said, already moving. "We need to go, now." They packed everything. Data logs, genetic maps, sample tissues, and ran. The safe house had a hidden exit that led to maintenance tunnels. Through twisting corridors, they reached the private dock where Saya's personal Alari vessel waited. Sleek, built for speed, and powered by photonic drives Earth had never seen. As they boarded, Jayan heard the station-wide alert blare behind them. Earth Central had activated a lockdown. Too late. The ship launched with a low hum, slipping from the dock like a shadow. By the time the cruisers noticed, Saya had already triggered the stealth drives. "We head for Nyx," she said. "My
Home. My people." Jayan looked at her, the way her skin glowed now with a strength that had once seemed impossible.
"Will they accept me?" "They'll accept what we've become," she replied. "We're proof that the light doesn't have to destroy us, that it can give life." Nyx. A world bathed in eternal darkness on one side, burning sun on the other. Between them, a twilight band, a narrow strip where life thrived in the delicate balance of shadow and flame. They landed in the capital of that band, a city of glowing towers and floating platforms. It was quiet there, reverent. The Temple of Convergence rose from the land like a crystal mountain, shining with both light and dark energy. They were greeted not with suspicion, but with awe. Saya stood before the council, Jayan beside her.
Hands linked. "This is Jayan Reigns of Earth," she announced. "The last of the Helios project. The one who survived. The one who saved me. And the one who may save us all."
Over the next months, they worked, not as fugitives, but as pioneers, testing, transforming, teaching. Saya's body, now fully adapted, could stand in sunlight, not forever, but long enough. Other Alari began the process. Slowly, carefully, the future was beginning. A year later, Jayan stood beside Saya on the temple balcony. Below them, children with glowing skin ran through fields of filtered light. Some Alari, some not fully, some... Something new. We did it, he said, watching them. We changed everything. Saya leaned her head against his shoulder, her silver eyes filled with quiet joy. You brought us the light, she whispered, and you let it heal us. Jayan turned to face her, touching her cheek. You made me whole again. She smiled. No, she said. We made each other. And above them, the great star Zion.
Alpha blazed in the sky, no longer a threat, but a promise. The future had arrived.